Hi, I'm Josh Carving, and welcome to another Death Battle prediction video. I know I've actually been absent for the last one. I'll get to that in a moment. So first we'll go into the last two that I missed, which were Ghost Rider vs. Lobo, which I predicted but haven't commented on, which was a great episode. They kind of lowballed Ghost Rider's non-Zarathos form, but it was still, they still got it right with Zarathos himself. It was a really entertaining episode. It gave a lot more insight into Lobo, which is a character that fewer people know about, which is always a good thing. My girlfriend actually really likes Lobo now, just because of the analysis of that one. Made him look very entertaining. So that's definitely a good one. And the animation itself was really good. I'm curious where they got the sprites for Lobo from. Someone said that they might have been edited Blanca sprites, which, I mean, from the hair I would get that, but that's pretty interesting. There's not too much to say on that one, because that one was ultimately correct and basically what I kind of predicted. Now, Dragon Zord versus Mechagodzilla. Part of it was that I kind of I'm not a huge fan of Power Rangers, and there's kind of a very, very shaky community aspect of Power Rangers for the Versus community, because there's a big variety of opinions as to exactly how strong Power Rangers characters are. There's some people who say that every single Power Rangers character is massively faster than light, scaling to civilians, and there's all sorts of opinions. I kind of didn't want to sift through all of that because it's kind of a bit of an annoying area. I was ultimately pulling for Mechagodzilla just because I kind of prefer the character, and I was very happy to see that that was indeed what ended up happening. I kind of knew that the Absolute Zero cannon would probably be the big clincher there, because that thing's just busted hacks. So then, and the animation with that one was very good too. The music in particular, actually the music for both was really, really good. In particular, Ghost Rider vs. Lobo's music was actually a really sick metal track, which I'm always a fan. So lastly, we have Sasuke versus Hiei. Now, this is the current fight. This is going to be a pretty interesting one, partly because there's a lot of people out there who are kind of in two camps, one of which is the Sasuke Stomps camp, which I'll admit that's where I've got my tent. That's certainly where I've got mine. And then the other crowd is basically Hiei wins for a variety of reasons, which I'm going to get into now. So one of the things is that Hiei's resistances to heat and cold will make it so that it nullifies all of Sasuke's attacks, along with his resistance to illusions with the Jagon. And yes, the illusions point is true. He would likely be able to resist the illusion effects of the Sharingan due to that. But having a resistance to heat is not the same as, it's still a matter of energy for the most part. And for example, another big thing is that the fire Sasuke uses, sure, his basic fireballs, he might be much better shape compared to a lot of other things, but his Amaterasu flame burns other fire and has specifically burnt people who are immune to fire. And then I've seen the argument that because Hiei absorbed his own black fire dragon that he fires, that he can also absorb the Amaterasu and get stronger, which is definitely not how it works. Just because they are both black fire does not make them equal. That's an incredibly important point, because Amaterasu is vastly stronger than anything Hiei has had to deal with, or his verse has had to deal with. So then we come to a couple other things as well that people bring up, such as the Jagon Binding Curse, which basically just puts these rings around you that kind of clinch tight on you and make it so you can't move, which sets it up for an easy kill. Two problems with that, one of which, stats, which I'll get into in a moment, but secondly is space-time ninjutsu. Sasuke can literally just teleport out of it with no effort. So there's that. So speaking of stats, let's get into that one, because this is a bit of a... This is kind of where a lot of the misconceptions are. For some inexplicable reason, there are people who don't think that Sasuke is in any way comparable to Naruto himself, which is just silly. At the very, very end of the series, the two of them literally fought head-to-head, went all out, both of which using all of their special forms, and then they literally ended the fight in a tie where they both blew each other's arms off. If there's anything that says these two are even, it is that. But then a lot of people would say, oh, but the last took place after that fight, so he might not scale to the, like, moon shenanigans that happened there. And to that I just point to Boruto, where Momoshiki was able to damage an adult Naruto, and Sasuke managed to fight him. So there is absolutely zero reason why you should not scale Sasuke to Naruto, which already kind of paints it as immediate winning. But even without Naruto, there are still people like Madara, Momoshiki himself. He possesses half of Hagoromo's power, which was used to create the actual moon, and then he also made a moon-like structure that sealed Kaguya alongside Naruto, which was also calculated to being about small planet level. So that is through Naruto, Madara, Momoshiki, Hagoromo, and the Kaguya sealing. That is 5 planet level feats, one of which was he himself doing. It was him and Naruto that did it, and I've seen arguments that it wasn't him that did it because he was using 6 paths power, but he has that. That's a thing he has. Speed-wise, he fights people that, again, adult Naruto has fought, and they kept up with him. This means that he scales to him and dodging Madara's Light Fang, but even if you just, for some reason, want to ignore anything Naruto-related, there's a smattering of other feats from people who Sasuke are superior to or can keep up with, including the 4th Raikage, Pain, Kakashi, Itachi. And those 4 have feats ranging from Mach 2,225 to Mach 5,060. I believe the Mach 2... There was like a Mach 2,900, I believe, one that was Itachi's, where it was just him dodging Hirin, and it's obvious that Sasuke scales to anything Itachi can do at this point. So then we come to... So we basically have a very, very nice picture of what Sasuke should be at in terms of stats. He should be at planet level via 5 feats, and he should be either around light speed due to scaling to Naruto, or if you're a picky person, somewhere between Mach 2,225 and Mach 5,000. So we'll go with Mach 5,000 because that's basically about where it should be, if not the light speed one. Now, for Hiei's stats, here's the thing, is that their power is absurdly informed. For actual feats, the strongest direct feat that Hiei has is that he busted a large dome and made a trench in the ground, and it came out to about small city level. But the 2 statements that are made, and basically people have been latching onto really, really hard, is that he is country level via a statement that weaker ranked demons can destroy a country. Now, that is incredibly vague, because destroy a country can have a lot of different connotations, one of which is he kills all the people in the country, thus the country itself is no more. That is one method of destroying a country. And then there's also just destroying everything on the surface of it, like the cities and buildings and stuff. And then there is the landmass itself. So not only is it vague as to the amount of destruction, but the time frame, there really isn't one. So we don't know if that's destroying it over time or destroying it in one hit. There's really nothing on that. Now, that isn't the only statement, though. People have also been latching on to one that Sensui made, that he said that with 1/5 of his power, if he was in the mortal world, he would be basically making an earthquake on a global scale. This comes out to about continent level. So it kind of more or less is multi-continent when you do the more than 1/5, so times 5, so it would be, I think it was 750 pages. I can't remember the exact number, but it ended up being essentially multi-continent level. And people have been latching onto this because Hiei is a higher ranked demon and thus should be higher. But again, all statement, we get no actual confirmation of that. So it's hard to say whether that actually holds any water, which I mean, sure, if you really want it to, but multi-continent level against planet level, it's still completely one-sided. And then you have the speed argument, which basically is Yu Yu Hakusho actually doesn't have a whole lot of speed feats. The most notable one that I was able to find was that he is superior to an early Yusuke who can deflect Suzaku's electrical arrows that come from the sky. So a lot of his electrical attacks do come down from the sky, so let's go ahead and assume that it's lightning. Natural cloud-to-ground lightning. It would still only be Mach 287. That is about 10 times less than the low ball of, like, the minimum that you could put Sasuke at. So ultimately, Sasuke really, really does have this one. Like, there's no real argument. A lot of it is just really, really bad double standards on scaling for the most part, saying that Hiei scales above all these vague arguments and, like, statements that are made, and that for some reason Sasuke doesn't scale to anything in the series. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Last thing that I want to address is the idea that because Sasuke runs on chakra, he is very limited in time. That is definitely not true. Chakra limits aren't that bad, especially later in the series. Like, let's keep in mind that some people during the Fourth Shinobi War were basically fighting throughout the whole thing. And another mental thing to keep in mind is that the Fourth Shinobi War was literally longer than the entirety of Yu Yu Hakusho. Just to keep that in mind. So there really isn't very much of an argument that Sasuke is going to run out of chakra in the middle of this. The most is that there's a little bit of a drawback because some of his Rinnegan and Sharingan powers can kind of fuck with his eye a bit. But the other thing is that it's not like Hiei is actually immune to this either. A lot of his stronger abilities, a lot of the Ragan ones, and his Darkness Fire Dragon, I believe, they exhaust him too. He can't use them all that much, and especially if he goes into his special form, he will be very quickly exhausted. He has less of a battery than Sasuke does. So that's, again, a huge double standard that people are using, probably because they just don't like him very much. Sasuke is a very divisive character. I personally don't like him that much either. But this is the versus debating community, baby, and that's, you gotta put your biases aside and go for the facts. And the facts say that Sasuke speed blitzes and one-shots with absolutely no effort. What you gonna do? Well, I believe that is all I will have to say on this one, so you guys have yourselves a great one, and I will see you next time.